Welcome to Nyliner Tattoo.
Hey everybody, so this video I think is an important video because it's going to give you an exact, with photographs, what happened with Sarah. Now before some of you are like, what the fuck were you taking photographs for? She's Sarah says to me on the way up to hospital in the car, before she lost consciousness, before all the stuff that's about to happen, she's had cancer, she's had all these things, and she's never ever seen herself in their positions. And she asked me, can you please take photographs of, well, she said photographs or videos, and I didn't take videos of the beginning because it was just too difficult. But she says, please take photographs if something happens, because I want to see what it looks like from your perspective. And I'm like, oh, so don't think that I've done all this to make a video to get views, because that's not what's happened. And if you think that, then you can just fuck off, and I don't really give two shits, to be quite honest. But Sarah asked me to take photographs to show her. And then now that she's okay, as you've just seen, she's here with me. No, here, but was in bed next to me. This video is maybe just in case something like this happens to someone else, it might just give them a perspective as to what to expect. Because sometimes it's not knowing what to expect's the worst thing, okay? So don't think this is all pre-planned. Oh, fuck, great, my wife's in the hospital, she died, she's back to life, I'm going to make a great YouTube video. That's not what happened. And if you think that about me, you probably shouldn't be talking to me or watching my videos. But the video is important, and I think I've explained myself enough, so it's enough of the babbling, okay? Thank you very much, and I hope everybody's well. Take it easy. And also, I suppose I should say a warning of some sort. There's going to be pictures of Sarah in a coma, tubes, veins, wound, all that sort of stuff. So you're forewarned, okay? It's real life, and it's what I was looking at, and it's what Sarah went through. So it's real life. If you don't want to watch any of that, then that's completely fine. I completely understand. There's no issue with it whatsoever. But if you do, then this is Sarah's journey. I guess the main thing to take in if you are watching this and it gets a bit dark for you, just remember she's okay. Because that's what I have to do every day. She's okay. All right? So thank you very much. And take it easy. Bye. So, I figured that I'd start this video off with some good stuff. So this is from a while ago. Obviously, you can tell by the photographs. But this was Sarah getting her HNC in health and social care. Shorter hair there, different, but yeah, you can see that's part of her wedding. The next couple of photographs are her wedding, actually, it was an Edgar Allan Poe themed wedding, hence this photograph with the tombstone, and the little raven on the top, and there was like edible raven skulls as party favours and gifts and all that sort of business. That's my mum howling and my papa and my dad in the background. So yeah, these are wedding ones, and I guess these are all just to start off and show you, in case you've never seen us before or never seen this video before or anything at all. And I suppose if you have, it's just how things used to be, just a normal couple's life, I suppose. Everybody's got these photos, not the exact same, but that's our meeting Alan Cumming for not that long ago, actually. That was quite good. That's just a random night from us. I think that was a drag show, actually. The Boulay Brothers, aye. That one was in a shopping centre for something. That was in Australia. Again, these next few ones will be Australia. And again, these were all just, everybody's got these. Somebody somewhere has exactly that photograph, but it's they two different people. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's got these photographs of something. Everybody's got that normal life, whether it's Australia, whether it's Butlins, whether it doesn't really matter. But this was our life for the longest time. Pretty much doing stuff that we wanted, and yeah, having a good time. As you can see, we're very close, but it's pretty much I feel bad for some couples because they think they're in love, but they really aren't. And it sounds selfish and it sounds a bit self-righteous, but what we've got, nobody else has ever got. This is Auschwitz and Krakow. I think the last one here is Krakow as well. Yeah, it was on the boat, the Battery boat. We were having dinner. There's some random stray dogs. Sarah's a bit of a fucking magnet for strange animals. This was a castle somewhere on our anniversary. We went by day and visited castles, and then at night time we just sort of chilled and done some other stuff. And this is how many of you will know Sarah looking like that. And this is what we were looking at for quite some time. So excuse the state of this fucking, but it's night time and I just wanted to interject a wee video here. So yeah, that was all good stuff. And then that last picture you seen was a bit of a shock, but that's entirely purposeful because that's what it was like for me. And I don't want this video to be about me, but this is from my perspective. Okay, so everything was going like it used to be, wedding and holidays and everything was great. And then I was forced to deal with that. But what I wanted to interject just to say is it was April the 60th. I have done a couple of videos about this, just weekly update things. But again, this is an in-depth one. So as in-depth as we or Sarah and I are prepared to go. Maybe in the future we'll do a really in-depth one. What I will say is this one is not going to have any complaints in it. There's a lot of complaints we had. Now, I know they saved Sarah's life, and I've been through that in another video. And I know my sort of friends and customers and whatever out in America and various other countries with various healthcare regimes and all that. But people seem to think that we get healthcare for free in this country, and we go and we get care and we don't pay. That's true. But we do pay. We pay tax, we pay national insurance, which is what covers healthcare and stuff. So it's not free. Some Americans, and I'm not saying they're stupid, but they seem to think that we get free healthcare. Just because you don't pay for it straight after the treatment does not mean it's free. And that being said, if it's at 100%, as in bringing my wife back from the dead, that's incredible. But that doesn't give them the right for it to drop to as low as what I would say certain incidents, 30%, maybe even lower. There's one incident in particular that we might talk about in another video, but that was below 10%, and I'm not even being dramatic. If I can tell you about it, I will, but that's up to Sarah, and it might not be in this video, and it might be in the future, but once you hear it, you'll understand. So basically, on the 16th of April at 12:02, now that sounds weird, but I think, again, Sarah's had cancer, she's had all this stuff, and when you go places a lot, the bad IBS for so long, and fibromyalgia, and all these fucking things, man, it's so much bad luck. They always say, and what time did this happen? Do you know what time that incident? And usually it's like, fuck, I have no idea. So we have become quite masterful at noticing what's happening and at what time it's happening at, because as you'll find out in not a long amount of time, minutes make lives pretty much, and as dramatic as that sounds, it's true. So Sarah, we got up and we'd been pottering about, and we were going to do something, and for the life of me I can't remember what we were going to do. That might have been something as simple as, we don't go shopping, we order online, so we're going to do something anyway. And I was downstairs fucking about, and Sarah was like, oh no, another IBS incident. And let me just quickly explain Sarah's IBS incidents. Some people get IBS where they go, oh, IBS, I need to go for a shit, I'm going to shit myself. Or, you know, they get some stomach cramps, or they get a combination of both. And I'm not being dramatic again, but for the last, I'd say, to be conservative, we'll say 2 years. It's not like Sarah and I have had no life, but like, we don't drink, we don't do drugs, we don't go to nightclubs, we don't go to pubs, we go to concerts, as you well know. And if we were going to a concert on, I don't know, a Friday, Sarah wouldn't eat anything from probably Wednesday night, maybe Thursday morning at a push, because she knows or knew that her IBS would definitely kick in. She couldn't drink coffee, she couldn't eat certain things. And basically, for about 2 years, Sarah's life was in this bedroom, where I'm filming this little bit now. Lying in this bed. Sorry, I put my hand in front of the camera there. Lying in this bed. Because it's lying out straight, and the flatness being out straight helps your stomach. She would be exhausted, she'd be closer to the loo. She really never had much a life as such, and we hid that quite well because it's so easy to smile on the internet, isn't it? And tell everybody you're fine and everything's going great, and you'll maybe see us at a random show and we're having a great time, and then on the way home I have to drive at like 80 miles an hour along a tiny fucking 30-mile-an-hour high street to get to my tattoo shop at 12 o'clock at night, so Sarah doesn't vomit and shit herself all over the... And it was as serious as that, and I'm not even kidding. Her life was ruled by this IBS. So she's on the bath, she's on the toilet, and for years I would shout, maybe we should go to the hospital, and she'd go, no, it's fine, it's all right. And then at 12:02, she screamed, a horrible fucking scream. And I knew it was 12:02 because I looked at the time, because of these things that I've just explained. And she shouted, something's happened. And I says to her, well, phone an ambulance. And she said, aye. And that was a huge fucking shock. So I phoned the ambulance, and the lady said, hi there, blah, 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 emergency, this and that. And I says, aye, my wife, she's had terrible IBS for a long, long time. She's got fibro. She's just been in the toilet, and something's happened. And the woman said, is the patient awake or conscious? And I didn't want to lie, and I said, yes, she is. And I held the phone up, and then I put it back to my ear, and the woman said, and I put it on speaker, and the woman said, what was that noise? And I was like, that's my wife screaming in the bathroom. Oh, all right, give me a minute. So it put me on hold for, I don't know, maybe 30 seconds, a minute or something. And I'm trying to get my clothes on, and I'm doing all this stuff. And the woman comes back and says, I have evaluated your wife, and currently she's not sick enough to warrant an ambulance. If you just hold on for the next 30 to 45 minutes, somebody will phone you back. And I says to her, I'm not happy with that. And I never shouted or swore or nothing, because I was in, shock or panic or whatever. And she basically said, well, I don't really care if you like it or not. That's what I've evaluated. Somebody will phone you back. So jumped in the Range Rover, got her downstairs. She was literally, I've done this in the previous video, but if that's you standing straight up and down, Sarah was like that. Literally bent over, where her, like, if she'd went any more, her chin would have been on her knees. She couldn't stand up straight. She had a little heart-shaped, rainbow, multicoloured, heart-shaped, almost like a seaside bucket you would give a kid to make a sandcastle. And she used to keep makeup brushes and stuff in it. And they were all strung across the flare, and the bucket she was going to be sickened, so we took that in the car. We got to the hospital, and somebody did call about 35, 40 minutes later. Somebody did call, but by that time we'd already seen her. And basically, Sarah's suffered a perforated bowel. So her bowel burst. And I'm jumping ahead a little bit here, but we were told by a surgeon, if we had just waited in the house for that phone call, that 40 minutes, she would not have made it. And now, I know, spoiler alert, she does die, and they do bring her back, but we were told pretty much that the coming back thing would not have happened if we just waited on that person phoning us back. So I'm going to put a complaint in about that, but I need to do it the right way, and I need to do it calmly. Because shouting this fucking that's just not going to help anybody. So I'll deal with that another time. But that was on the 16th of April. And what you'll see now is a couple of photographs of Sarah in A&E. Now, Sarah has no recollection of these photographs. And again, she says to me, you have to take photographs. I want to see, because she never sees what you're about to see. Most people never see themselves that way. And some people might say, why would you want to? But when you've been through cancer, you've been through a fundoplication where they removed your gallbladder. Is that right?
No, the gallbladder was just part of it.
The gallbladder was part of it.
But they take part of your stomach and wrap it around the bottom, the very bottom of your esophagus.
That's it. She had precancerous... This was before the cancer that came. Precancerous cells. So what they've done is they've done a fundoplication where they take part of your gallbladder and other tissue, and they wrap it around the bottom of your stomach, and it stops stuff coming back up. Is that right?
No, they took the gallbladder out.
They took the gallbladder out.
But they took part of my stomach.
Part of your stomach, sorry, and wrapped it around, and it stops stuff coming back up, and it helps with the precancerous cells. And she was like, I wonder what did I look like? And I was like, it was frightening. And with the cancer operation, getting the tumour removed, what did I look like? And she's always, you never get to see it. And again, that's why she asked me to take videos and photos early on I was just taking the occasional photograph, as you'll see. But, so these photographs here, Sarah has no recollection of... In fact, you know what, I'll not put you on the film now, but you tell them where you remember from.
Sitting in the waiting room, being sick into a bowl.
Right.
A wee bucket.
So I was forced... If you come to A&E in Scotland anyway, I don't know about anywhere else, but you can park right outside A&E, take your patient or your whoever in, but then you must come back and remove your car because it's detrimental to other people, obviously. So I dropped Sarah off, got a chair, left the car outside, took her in, told people what had happened. Well, we didn't know at that time, but told them at the desk something bad had happened. They looked at her and they went, cool. I says, I'm just going to move my car. And at that point, Sarah was... Did you say you were sick in the bowl?
Aye.
Sick in the bowl. And I came... Literally, it took me 10 minutes to move the car and come back. I ran all the way back. It took me 10 minutes. And when I got back, she was already through in triage, which... Now, again, in Edinburgh, at the Royal, there's a big, massive 70-inch TV, and it gives you estimated times. And the time to see triage was an hour. And the time to see a GP or a doctor was 2.5 hours at that point. And start to finish was 6 or 7 hours. But they took her in within 10 minutes. So they knew. Turns out we spoke to someone after, and they kind of pretty much knew that her bowel had burst, but they didn't say that, obviously. So she has no recollection of... The pictures you're about to see are not in the waiting room. These are in the triage bit before you know, once you've been primarily seen by someone. So she has no recollection of these photographs. So you'll see these now. 2 seconds. So that was Sarah sitting. She'd been seen. And from now on, she remembers absolutely nothing. So basically, they took her in, they'd done some tests and stuff on her, they'd done various things, and then I couldn't come straight in. They told me, grab a seat and somebody will come and get you when it's suitable to see your wife. And I'm like, all right, okay. And I sat there for an hour. And after an hour and 10 minutes, I chapped the glass and I was like, look, I know yous are super busy, but... And she said, oh, sorry, I forgot to tell you, you can just go right through. And I'm like, fuck's sake. She forgot to tell me an hour ago I could have just went right through. She made a slight boob, but whatever, it's fine. So I went through, and then they had... It was really quick. They had loads of paperwork for Sarah and I to sign. They pretty much knew what had happened at this point. They pretty much suspected what had happened. Then we had to sign all these documents for an operation. I forget what the operation they said she was getting, but it turned out to be the one she did get. But I can't remember what it's called. But we had to sign documents. And Sarah signed them herself, and I had to co-sign them, but she has no recollection of that because they'd already gave her morphine and I think a little bit of fentanyl as well and some other stuff. But one of the things that I had to sign was a form saying that I understood the risks of the operation, which is, I guess, fairly standard. But the surgeon said that the risks of death during the operation were 20 to 35%, which I always thought was weird. 15, but I don't know why I thought that was weird, but it was. So I had to sign them. To sign up, you don't sign in Britain anymore. You don't sign for a while. Actually, you don't sign to be an organ donor. You have to opt out. Everybody's automatically opted in, but they just wanted to check. He says, you're okay with Sarah being an organ donor if anything goes wrong? And I'm like, fuck it, yep, aye, okay. So I filled all the forms in, and that was at about 3 o'clock, 3:30. And then they were taking her away. And we go, you've seen in loads of these videos, there's a place near us, it's about half a mile away for us, and we take the dogs a walk. And I call it Little House on the Prairie because of the stuff that grows there, and it's just lovely. So we shorten it to Prairie. We'll take the dogs to the Prairie. And the last thing Sarah says to me was, I love you. And I'm like, I love you too. And she's like, I don't think we're going to go to the Prairie tonight. And then they took her away. And of course I'm fucking howling and crying as she's leaving. And then the woman says to me, look, the operation should take about 3 or 4 hours. But to be on the safe side, give us a phone about 7 or 8 o'clock. And I'm like, okay. I phoned at like 5, 6, 7, as you would. And they says to me, look, you can't keep phoning, but we'll phone you, I promise. And they phoned at 10:15, 11 at night. The operation took way fucking longer. And of course, the surgeons who are saving her are like doing the operation. They're not sitting there going, holy shit, somebody better go and phone Stu because it's been longer. It doesn't work that way. So I had no fucking clue what was going on. And there was a bit of confusion. She was going to an ICU ward, intensive care. They knew she was coming, but she hadn't been sent yet. And it was a bit of a faff. And the guy says to me, look, it's now 12:30 at night, 1:45. We've got her. She's on the way down to that ward, but the hospitals get locked at night. You can get in, but probably be better if you just come along at like 6 in the morning or something. And I'm like, fuck, okay. So I'm lying in here with the TV off, doing nothing, just literally staring at nothing. And then the phone rang at 3:30 in the morning. And it's a phone call I've had before with my grandmother, and it's a phone call that I know. I know how these phone calls work because of what the jobs that we've had and the customers I've had, and I just know how it works. If you have a loved one in hospital and they're getting something done and they take a turn for the worse, the hospital phone you and say, it'd be a good idea if you could get here. Drive safely, get here as quick as you can, but and that's normal, I get that. If your loved one has died, they tell you that exact same thing. It'd be good if you get here. They're not allowed to tell you over the phone that your loved one's died. They're not allowed to. So at that point, I didn't know if she was alive or not because she'd survived the operation. Everything was fine. So I got there. I don't know what time it was, about 5 to 4. I've looked back at the records because I phoned my mum and dad a little bit after that. So I think it was about 3:45 or something I got to the hospital, 5 to 4. We don't stay too far for the hospital, and at that time it's quiet. And I got taken up to the ICU. You have to buzz to get in, so I buzzed to get in, and a man and a woman took me into this little room, which I'll show you now. So that little room is where the man told me, with his hand on my knee or my shoulder, I think it was on my shoulder, where he told me that Sarah had died and she had cardiac arrest and they'd performed substantial CPR on her, and she died for about 75 seconds. And is that right? A minute and a half? No, what's a minute and a half? 90 seconds? Fuck me, 90 seconds, sorry. I draw pictures for a living, but they gave her substantial CPR. She was back and she was now stable, but she was in a coma. And he says, have you got any questions? And I had sort of obviously howling like fuck. And I remember distinctly asking him, is my wife going to die? And he's like, look, she's very sick. There was, I think, if I get this right, I might get this wrong, but there was it was quite a large single floor in the ICU. There was about 30 people in the ICU, sick people. And Sarah was the sickest person in the sickest part of the hospital. So, it wasn't ideal. So, the next thing you'll see is me holding Sarah's hand. And I went through. I phoned my mum and dad after I'd sat with Sarah for a while because I didn't quite know what was going to happen. So, So the next thing you'll see is a series of photographs, and I'll give you a brief rundown as to what's going on. I mean, they're pretty fucking self-explanatory, but yes, here we go. Yeah, that's Sarah in a coma. Various tubes. That's Sarah's dialysis machine. For those of you before who've never seen a dialysis machine, which is ironic because Sarah used to work in a dialysis unit of a hospital. And sheeting up to the green at the top right. So at the top right, follow the green down, the plastic sheeting, up to the blue, and then there's a little T-junction with another one. That's an oxygen tube, and that goes right down her throat and into her lungs to help her breathe. That plastic sheet you can see, later on, once Sarah's awake, she was unable to cough. So they pushed that thing down her throat, which helps clear stuff, but that's later on. But that's what you're looking at there. Again, these are all just different angles. Now, this one, I really struggled with this. And this is not the worst that they got, but it's the worst that feel I should put in to show you. Sarah's eyes. Now, one thing when you're on dialysis as well, if you're on dialysis and you're not expelling urine, like your kidneys obviously help filter out all the bad stuff, but that comes out via your wee as well. So if you're not peeing, you still have to have fluids coming in. And as a result of Sarah not expelling any fluids at all, because that's why the dialysis machine was on, her feet were all swollen, her hands were all swollen, everything was swollen. And what you can see there, that looks like her eyes are bleeding, they're not bleeding. That's excess water and excess, it sounds really weird to say, but it's excess eyeball. It's fucking insane to describe it, but that's what it is. It's not bleeding. It's the insides of the eyelids and the underneath of the eyeballs getting pushed out by the fluid. I did give you a warning before this video. So now this picture and the next picture, when Sarah was starting to come out of the coma towards the end of the 2 weeks, she'd wake up periodically and start pulling at the tubes in her mouth and in everything in her face. And she had what they call a pick line in her neck, which goes right into the vein. You know when you see movies and they slash you in the neck and it spurts everywhere? That's pretty fucking real. Big veins. You've got one on either side, and they'll put in 4 or 5 or 1, 2, 3... 4 or 5 into that big vein, and it does loads of stuff. But if you pull that out, you can bleed to death really fucking quickly, like horror movie quickly. So they put on these, we laugh about it now, but we put on these sort of mitten things to stop her clawing at her tubes in her neck and the tubes in her face. Because obviously you can see she's flat out there, she's no awake, she's still in a coma, but she still does have some slight movement towards the end of her waking up. So that was a safety precaution. Just another angle of Sarah in a coma, nothing else different with that one. And then awake. So you'll see the tubes on the left there. You'll see them. I just showed you them. They're 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. There was 4 in her neck at that point. That's the pick line on the left there, just below the purple tube that goes into the vein. And this, I have jumped forward a little bit, but I just, I didn't want to make this video fucking 4 hours long. So they took that tube out that was down Sarah's throat, and they, you know what, 2 seconds. So that tube that you seen down Sarah's throat that was breathing, she had that in for about a week while she was awake. She had it in for a long time, but being awake with it down, it was about a week to 10 days. They tried to take it out at one point, but they were about 4 days too soon to take it out. They took it out, and so if you're watching this, do this with me right now. Pretend you've got something in your throat and just go like that. Imagine not being able to do that and having a throat and a chest full of shit, and physically not being able to just do something as simple as go like that. She couldn't do that, so she couldn't clear. Yeah, she couldn't clear her throat. So they took the tube out and it was too soon. So they had to re-intubate her, which means putting that back down. Now, when they put that back down the first time she was out, that's not a nice thing to go through. But she couldn't breathe. So they had to put it back in and she went back on the breathing machine. So the photograph you're going to see now is Sarah. They took it out about 4 days after the failed attempt. 6 days. Sorry, I got excited there. 6 days after the failed attempt, they attempted it again, and it worked this time. But sometimes you'll see her, she's got this thing on her face at the minute called a nebulizer, which effectively is and I'm not a doctor, so I'll tell you how I understand it. But it's almost like it's like a gentle throat and chest paint stripper thing type of way. It steams the inside of this part, and it helps bring glut and shit off your throat, and then bring it up with less, you know what I mean? You understand what I'm saying? I think I'm explaining it not too bad. So the nebulizer goes on every now and again, and in that little green section on the bottom, they put fluid in that. I don't know quite what they put in it. They put some drops in it, and it helps, and you see the steam coming out, and it helps clear her throat. but she did have breathing things on and all that sort of stuff. So that's the next pictures you'll see.